Track is brought to you by Olin Breweries and the Maritime Harness Racing Track Operators. Rick.
Once again to another edition of At the Track, and this afternoon we're going to take a close look at wagering, that aspect of harness racing. We'll show you how to read the tote board. We'll also have a feature on what wagering is all about, what the features are, and how to go about buying a ticket, and also a few tips on handicapping. But there was more harness racing action around the Maritimes, and some exciting racing action was down in Truro Raceway on last Sunday. Paul Meunier has a report from Truro Raceway.
The track was fast for the Rothman Sire Stakes for 3-year-olds. Drawing the rail was winner of the 2-year-old stakes, West River Willie, owned by Ed Haley of Antigonish, driven by Ken McDonald. In the 2-hole, Kelzire, in only her 3rd race, owned by Donald Ross of Lower Montague. Number 3, High Chips, owned by Patricia Smith of St. John, driven by Herman Renaud. Erasmus, owned by Doug Robson of Belfast PEI, drew number 4. One of the favorites, Erasmus has earned over $12,000 in its first 10 races. In its last start, Erasmus beat number 5 horse, Dunmore Tweed, by 2/5 of a second. Dunmore Tweed is owned by Orville Willis of O'Leary PEI, driven by Marcel Barrio. Number 6, Policymaker, is owned by Moncton's Don Canning, driven by Randy Canning. They finished in 2 minutes, 4 2/5 seconds, led by Dunmore Tweed, followed by Erasmus, West River Willie, High Chips, Kelzire, and Policymaker. But it was a little sloppy with 3 of the 6 horses breaking.
Kind of a rough race for a lot of the people out there. A lot of horses broke. How are you playing it?
Well, I planned like I was hoping it would go. I kind of missed all the running and whatever was going on in the back. So once I went towards the front, I was kind of happy to be there. I was more concerned about Erasmus. Like, once I seen that I beat him off the gate, I was quite happy for that.
Claire McDonald watched West River Willie pull up on husband Ken McDonald at the 3/4, then regain its trot to show.
Trotters are hard to keep steady. You know, the least little thing will bother them. They get another horse handy, it'll bother them. Sometimes they try to go faster, quicker than they're ready to go. They'll make just an effort too quick, and they get tangled up in boots and hit themselves. There are more interference problems with a trotter than a pacer, and a pacer has always to tie himself together, give him something to rely on.
At 3 years old, they're still pretty young too, eh?
Oh yeah. Although now they get broke so early, and they races 2- and 3-year-olds. A lot of them are well-seasoned racehorses by now, but still they're still in their mind, they're still young.
Claire's father had to be happy. Ed Haley owns West River Willie. He owned its sire and mare. The sire, Bancroft Hanover, also sired winner Dunmore Tweed. And Haley owned the dam, Star Tweed, selling her when she was in foal with Dunmore Tweed.
Mr. Willis, tell us a little bit about the winner today, Dunmore Tweed.
He was bred right out here and raised out here in Antigonish, and he's got a good family. The horse came from a good family. There was a maritime champion out of her before, and the potential was there, and we thought we seen it there, so that's why we bought him.
Mm-hmm. Rothman Stakes publicist Ken Starrett was pleased with the race.
One thing has happened, Paul, is there are more sires coming in, more stallions, and the breeding is improving. And I think in the next 2 years, in the Rothman's 2- and 3-year-olds, you'll see some better racing with the trotters. Of course, we have 55 new stallions in the Maritimes from the United States and Ontario, and that means that the breeding is getting better, and the times are getting quicker and quicker.
As for the closure of Sackville Downs, Starrett sees no effect on the program's future. In fact,
no effect in the immediate future, but when we tender on the races for next year, we hope that the new track will be announced, and it's intimate, I think, the announcement for the Atlantic Winter Fair site. And with that in mind, they'll have an opportunity to tender on those races.
That's what we keep hearing. Dunmore Tweed, winner of the Rothman Sire Stake for 3-year-old trotters in a time of 2:04 and 2. Oh, one person was especially happy with his time spent at Truro Raceway on Sunday. Moncton's Danny LeBlanc spent $30 to wheel the triactor in the 7th race.
$1,100. Won $700 last night. Champlain.
Do you usually bet on one race and then
take off? Yeah, I try to. Best I can.
I'm Paul Meunier for At the Track.
Well, early in our series of programs, we talked about all the wagering formats, but we have Stan Bergstein back with us this afternoon, and he'll recap all of them once again. Here's Stan Bergstein.
The terminology of betting is something taken for granted by regulars, but not everyone at a racetrack is a regular. Here is a primer. If you bet to win, you collect if your horse finishes first. If you bet to place, you collect if he finishes first or second. And if you bet to show, you collect if the horse finishes first, second, or third. You can bet a daily double in which you must select the winner of the first half of the daily double and combine it with the winner of the second half of the daily double, in which case you win. Some tracks offer quinellas, in which case you bet two horses in the same race to finish first and second in either order. For example, if you pick 3 and 5 and they finish 3 and 5 or 5 first and 3 second, you are a winner. You can bet an exacta or a perfecta, where you pick two horses in the same race to finish in the exact order. For example, 3 first and 5 second, and they must finish in that order. You can bet a trifecta, sometimes known as a triple or triactor, where you pick 3 horses in the same race to finish in exact order. 3, 5, and 7 for first, second, and third. In all cases, you follow a formula of betting known as ABC. The amount first, a type of bet second, and your choice third. So you would ask, for example, $10 to win on number 3, or $5 to place on number 5, or $5 to show on number 7. You would ask for an exacta by saying a $2 exacta, 3 and 5. Or you could ask for a triple by saying a $3 trifecta, 3, 5, and 7. Say, however, you want to bet an exacta, but you like 3 horses in the race rather than 2. You can then box an exacta. And in a $2 exacta box, picking 3 horses, it would give you 6 combinations, as you see on your screen. Since you're getting 6 wagers and each one costs $2, it would cost you 6 times 2 or $12 for that bet. And you would ask for it in the same way. $2 exacta box, 3, 5, and 7. Similarly, you can box a trifecta, and at most tracks you can do it in $1 denominations. Say you like the 3, 5, 7, but aren't sure of the exact order in which they'll finish. If you ask for a $1 trifecta box, 3, 5, and 7, you will get these combinations, and it would cost you $6. If you ask for a $3 trifecta box, it would cost you $18, and you can add a 4th horse, and it would cost you $24 in a $1 trifecta, or $72 in the $3 trifecta. If you like one horse particularly well, say the 3, you can ask for a trifecta wheel with all other horses in the race. And if the 3 won, it would cost you $42 if there were 8 horses in the race, or $72 if there were 10 horses in the race. Regardless of who finished second or third, if the 3 won, you'd win the trifecta. Good luck, and remember, bet with your head, not over it.
To the racetrack, and that piece of apparatus out in the center field might be a little bit confusing. It's called the tote board, and actually it is quite simple to understand, especially when Stan Bergstein explains it.
The blinking, changing lights of the totalizator board, or tote board as it's known throughout racing, can be intimidating to the newcomer to racing, but as the computer companies love to say, it is really user-friendly. Once you get to know what it means and what it says, the information on it can be very helpful to you at the racetrack. And that information is basically the same at racetracks throughout the world, even though the tote boards may differ slightly in style and construction. All of them show minutes to post for the next race, and all of them show the odds of the horses. On this particular board, the odds are listed in vertical order. This board lists the odds in horizontal order, and under each number is the amount bet to win, to place, and to show on the individual horse. On this board, the odds are shown in red, and in the white numbers, the actual win price of the horse if he wins, and the range of what he'll pay for place and show. Back to the vertical board, where you see the 1 horse at 3 to 1, the 2 and 3 at 4 to 1, and so forth. This panel shows the win pool. First, how much is bet totally in the pool, $28,488, and then how much is bet to win on each individual horse. The same information is shown for the place pool, that's second, and the same information is shown for the show pool, betting on horses to finish third. In exacta betting, you pick 2 horses to finish in exact order, first and second. And this panel of the board shows what all of the various combinations will pay. In this particular instance, 3 and 1, finishing 1-2, would pay 50-60. 3 and 2, 106.80, and so forth. The board then cycles and shows the same information if the 4 horse is the winner with all of the various combinations that could finish second behind him. The teletimer panel shows the fractional progress of the race, with the leading horse tripping the timer as he reaches each station, 59 and 4 for the half in this case. The running order of the race is shown under the result panel, and it changes as the horses change their position in the race. Once the race is over, the result panel shows the order of finish, 6 and 1 and a photo in this case. And when the judges have seen the photo and determined the full order of finish, they post it on the board and put the official up. The 6 horse who won it pays $5.40 to win, $3.20 to place or finish second, and $2.80 to show or finish third. The 1 horse who is second pays $3.20 for place and $3.20 for show, and the 2 horse who is third, $4 to show, with the 6-1 exacta paying $21.40. There's a message board on the totalizator board, and it shows various information, including the attendance and advice to the patrons. Always good advice to hold your tickets until the race is official.
Earlier on in our series of programs, we showed how to read a race program, and earlier on in this afternoon's program, Stan Bergstein was here with what the wagering features are all about and how to go about buying your tickets, and also how to read a tote board. Now here's Doug Harkness with a few tips on how to make a few dollars and have some fun.
Harness racing was Canada's first form of legalized gambling, but it's gambling with a difference. Unlike the roulette wheel, successful betting is a lot more than luck. Doug Harkness, publisher of Atlantic Post Calls, explained the value of handicapping to us the other night at Champlain Raceway.
A lot of people go to harness racing and they like to bet and they wager on every race. Now they're enjoying themselves and they're betting every race. Their chances of going home with more money than they came with, if they use that pattern, aren't very good, because you just can't win every race. But if you're a handicapper or a person who likes to wager some money and make a profit, is you'll pick the races in which you're going to bet. You might bet 3 or 4 races an evening. Most of the good handicappers might bet as little as 2 a night. There's one fellow I know in Florida who bets 1 race a night. He bets the second half of the daily double because he knows what the odds are going to be.
Handicapping is both art and science. It takes an understanding of the statistics of harness racing, all of which can be found on the program, and enough horse sense to weigh the factors and put them into some kind of perspective.
What I look at, when I think is first of all is important, is to find out, if you're looking at a race, what type of race it is and the class of horses that are in the race. If it's a free-for-all event, you have the top horses on the racetrack. If it's a claimer, you can tell pretty well by the claiming price of what type of class this horse is. So you look to see what the conditions of the race program are for that race, and then you look at the horses and see where they fit in your mind. Another major consideration is where the horse is drawn in a post position. The horse on the rail always has the best chance in my mind because he has to go the least number of feet in the mile to win the race. I also consider a major thing is the driver. I look at the driver and see how he's done on this particular racetrack, and if he's got hot hands, I'll give him a consideration, even if his horse might not seem to be quite as good as some others in the race. But the post position and drivers are very important in my mind. Track conditions, of course, are also important in that some horses like to race in the mud. And sometimes the program will show that if there's been some times where they've raced in the mud recently, the performance will show how that horse is raced. I follow enough of them and I know the good mudders pretty well. There are other horses who don't like the mud at all, and even though they might look like the best horse in the race, if the track comes up wet, they're not going to be in it because they just can't handle the mud. That's very important. I look at how the horse has been performing as well, whether he's going up in class, looks like he's coming on, or whether the horse was good earlier in the season and might be just in a little bit of a slump. And if he's in a bit of a slump, sometimes he'll drop back into a class where he can handle. You have to look at all those things. The program really, it's Greek to some people who are novices at the game, but once you learn to read it, it has all the information you really need to be a good handicapper, but you have to be able to interpret what those things mean. It's about as difficult as playing bridge.
It might be said that if everyone was a handicapper, the tracks would go out of business. Understanding the information on the racing form and knowing how to juggle those figures can definitely put the odds in your favor.
If you're a good handicapper and you have what we call some racing luck, you can walk away from the racetrack every night with a bit of a profit. If you have some racing luck, what you call, in that you might have the best horse in the race and something will happen. A horse might break in front of him. You have no way of knowing that. Someone might hook his wheels. He could have a rein that comes loose. And sometimes the driver just doesn't get a good steer. He gets caught in. But generally, if you're handicapped, you can normally walk away from the racetrack with a winner, or being a winner every night.
But before we get too carried away, it has to be remembered that luck is still part of the equation. A lot of things can happen on the racetrack. A horse may get boxed in. Wheels can become entangled. A horse may break stride or become injured in a freak accident. That means you should never go to the pari mutuel machines with more money than you can afford to lose. And above all, don't take things too seriously. You're supposed to be there to have fun.
People coming to the racetrack should be coming to have some fun. And God, I know there's some people, women bet the colors of the drivers, or they bet the color of the sulky wheels. My mother-in-law's a great one to bet the sulky wheels, or the color of the sulky wheels, or the color of the horse. She comes home some nights pretty well because she just happens to hit them. Some people play their age as a number and a combination. Other people play their phone number and things like that. And sometimes they're successful, but they wouldn't be in the long run if they keep at it. But if they're there for a night of the races, they can have fun just doing that. You don't have to get really involved in it. Just have a good night at the races. You can just relax and bet your age or your telephone number, and a lot of 34s might come in, or what have you, Ron.
I'm Ron Shaw for At the Track.
Well, it was one of those nights. Maple Leaf Bramble trotted to a new maritime record of 2 minutes and 4/5 for Ralph Annear. Then along came Hidden Intentions, 2 minutes and 1/5, the fastest maritime-bred 3-year-old filly on a maritime track in history. You knew it was going to be a quick feature. Greg Dennis has the story from Champlain Raceway.
The beautiful late summer sunset over the city of Moncton symbolized a spectacular evening of harness racing at Champlain Raceway. 2 maritime records fell early in the program, and the feature race promised to be just as exciting. Number 1 is Maple Grove Shadow, owned and driven by Winston Campbell of Sackville, Nova Scotia, the second fastest maritime-bred 3-year-old. Number 2, Rattle and Robbie, an ordinary horse until driver-trainer Henry Smallwood came along, now one of the Maritime's best. Number 3 is Heels Lad, the fastest maritime-bred gelding of all time, Dave Corey driving. 4 is Paris Dexter from PEI. Interesting, this horse began the season standing at stud, but owner Ewan Taylor decided he still had enough left to race, and he won the Gold Cup and Saucer Consolation in 1:59 2. Number 5, Guaranteed Chance, definitely the long shot, but still a capable horse with a best time of 2:01 Gary McDonald driving. Number 6, the pre-race favorite, Angel's Shadow, owned by Moncton's Murray Wade, the 2-time winner of the St. John Provincial Cup. Angel's Shadow, with Marcel Berriot on the bike, is the fastest ever maritime-bred horse with a time of 1:57 even. And finally, number 7, Odd Joe, a consistent pacer owned by Woodstock's Carolyn Kaiser. Ivan Davies is one of the Maritime's best up-and-coming young drivers. Fans had every reason to expect a great race.
As they swing into the turn, go on by the opening 8. Heels Lad is on the inside. Angel's Shadow up on the outside, going for taking the lead round the paddock turn. They race for the opening quarter. Angel's Shadow now out in front and on the rail by the quarter. 27 1/5 seconds. They move on down the stretch in front of the stand for the first time. Angel's Shadow out in front with the lead. Heels Lad racing in 2. Maple Grove Shadow moving 3. Paris Dexter racing in 4. Rattle and Robbie moving 5. Odd Joe racing 6. And the trailer Guaranteed Chance. They go to the turn now for the half mile. Positions unchanged in the turn. Setting the tempo is Angel's Shadow by a length. Heels Lad in 2. They roll on by the half. 57 3/5 seconds over to the backstretch for the final time. Angel Shadow still is out in front. It's a length and a half with Heels Lad driving into Maple Grove Shadow moving 3. Paris Dexter on the outside in 4. Racing 5, that's a Rattle and Robbie. Followed by Odd Joe and the trailer is Guaranteed Chance. They go to the paddock turn for the final time. Angel Shadow now by 2 lengths. They're by the 3/4, 1:26 and 4. They race round the turn for the final time. It's Angel Shadow. He's out in front by 3 lengths. Heels Lad racing 2. Maple Grove Shadows up on the outside in 3. Paris Dexter racing 4. They swing for home. Angel Shadow, Maple Grove Shadow on the outside. Here comes Paris Dexter up on the outside. Angel Shadow, Paris Dexter's on the outside. They come to the wire. It's going to be Angel Shadow in 1:56 and 4.
The spectacular 1:56 and 4 mile eclipsed Angel Shadow's own maritime record.
He took it pretty good, like. You know, he's a class horse, and he showed his class tonight.
When did you realize that you might be on a record pace? Was it there at the quarter?
At the quarter, yeah. When I seen that quick a half, like, I figured I could give him a breather, like, from there to the half and still be there quick enough.
Paris Dexter also ran his best time ever, but not good enough to win on this evening.
I figured perhaps he could be second, maybe to Angel Shadow. This Angel Shadow, he's a hell of a horse, you know. No disgrace him beating you.
For At the Track, this is Greg Dennis.
Well, that's it for another edition of At the Track, and at this time we'd like to pass along our condolences to the family of the late Leonard Berrio, one of the true giants in the sport of harness racing in Atlantic Canada. And also, as a note of explanation, Overnight Storm, the new maritime 2-year-old champion, that colt was bred and raised by Mrs. George Riley's Riley Farms of Kensington, Prince Edward Island. Another busy week for harness racing around the region. Starting tonight, Champlain Raceway in Dieppe. 7 o'clock post time, the race against MS. And then tonight as well in Charlottetown at the CDP, the $3,000 first running of the Joe O'Brien Memorial. Coming up next weekend at Halifax on Friday night, the select stale of standard-bred yearlings. Starting at 7 o'clock, that is at the exhibition grounds. And a great card of racing at Truro next weekend, 2 of them in fact, Saturday and Sunday, Atlantic Sire Stakes, 3-year-old pacing colts and fillies, and also a $3,000 invitational. Over at Fredericton on Thursday night, it will be the final of their early closer. And we have a great show coming up again next week. Until then, I'm Howie Trainer at the Track.